Tragedy. Every one of us has experienced some sort of tragedy before. Maybe there was no free candy in that van, or maybe your employer has seen your comments on Instagram Reels. And the thing is, you usually never know that they have had such experiences before. Such as your local homeless man dancing in the middle of the street. What if I told you he became homeless due to gambling his life away? He quit before he hit the big jackpot. And while everybody in the real world has been through some sort of tragedy, fictional characters go through a lot as well. And even though they're not real, we still feel a great amount of empathy for what they've been through. Such as Dr. Doofenshmirtz from Phineas and Ferb. Before I start talking about his backstory, can we just appreciate how good of a father he is despite going through so much? Dr. Doofenshmirtz has had a rough childhood, and rough adulthood as well, considering he gets outsmarted and bodied by a platypus every episode. Now, Doofenshmirtz has been through so much, despite being such a silly character. His parents didn't even show up for his own birth. And speaking of his parents, let me list out all the shit they did to him. They made him wear a dress and act like a lawn gnome. They didn't show up to a single one of his birthdays. And this is all within his family, keep in mind. Even though the stuff within his personal life was so bad, his school life was no better. He had no friends growing up. This forced him to draw a face on a balloon and just hanging out with that. His relationships always ended in heartbreak, which led him to make a robot that can destroy love, which is understandable. I might have to make one, especially with Valentine's Day coming up. And while we all knew about Dr. Doofenshmirtz's backstory before he commits his evil deeds, it definitely hits a lot harder when you find out after. Such as Senor Pink from One Piece. There are definitely a lot of One Piece characters with sad backstories, but Senor Pink just stuck out to me. And I'm gonna give you guys a heads up right now. Skip this segment if you haven't finished the Dressrosa arc of One Piece. Now, I thought Senor Pink was just your average One Piece villain. I mean, look at him. He's fat, and he has that whack-ass outfit. When I first seen him, I could barely contain myself from laughing. I felt so bad after I found out why he wore that outfit. So during his fight with Frankie, we get a flashback of the family he used to have. Senor Pink also didn't have that diddly ass outfit back then. He had a wife and son. They look so happy. I mean, look at them. However, Senor Pink married his soon-to-be wife knowing that she hated pirates. So he did his best to try to hide that side of him from her and told her that he was a banker instead. Later on, they had a baby, and this left him with the decision of staying with his happy family or remaining loyal to his pirate crew. And sure enough, his wife found out and she left him. He was heartbroken, and some time goes on and his son dies from a fever. And to add on top of that, his wife was caught on a landslide, and this left her in a permanent vegetative state. Senor Pink tried everything to get her to smile again, but it was hopeless. Until Senor Pink dressed like a baby and visited her, and to his surprise, she smiled. He stayed wearing that outfit so she can keep smiling, and while people from the outside make fun of him and call him names and all that, he could care less because it's what makes his wife happy. Now, if that doesn't make you tear up, I don't know what will. It's just another reason why One Piece is peak! Next up, we have Ice King from Adventure Time. Jeez, why do all these characters from kid shows have the saddest backstories? Now, before Ice King turned into this, we need to rewind some years back. It turns out Ice King used to be human. His real name was Simon Petrikov, and he was also a professor of archaeology. He had a PhD as well, which is pretty impressive. And he said himself that he was never too interested in supernatural stuff until he found that crown. He first put it on as a joke, then he started to get visions, and this caused him to act rationally and ended up scaring his wife. And she ended up leaving him because she was afraid of what the crown has done to him. Now, I don't know what is with characters wise leaving them, but damn, that's harsh. Last but not least, we have the king of suffering, Guts from Berserk. 3 silver coins, man. 3 silver coins. Skip this if you haven't finished the Golden Age arc of Berserk. Unlike these other characters, Guts suffered as much as Dr. Doofenshmirtz did. His life started after being born from his dead mother's corpse. A group of mercenaries were walking along and seeing this, and some of the mercenaries thought it was a bad omen for them. But the lead mercenary, Gambino, was convinced to take him in when someone named Shisu insisted on taking care of him. And when Guts turned 3, Shisu died from a plague, and this left Gambino angry at Guts because he thought that Guts was the reason she died. And one night, Gambino was extremely drunk and tried to kill Guts, as well as admitting that he sold Guts off to Donovan. I can't really explain much of it for YouTube's sake. He ran away and became a lone mercenary for some time. However, Guts ended up meeting Griffith. Griffith was really impressed by Guts' swordsmanship and wanted him to join his band of thieves called the Band of the Falcon. Guts then becomes the best and strongest member in this group, becoming the Raiders captain. And Guts then wants to leave the Band of the Falcon to find his own dream, but Griffith couldn't accept that, so he pronounced that Guts has to beat him in a 1v1, and Griffith gets fucked up, and Guts just leaves like that. Griffith then gets captured by people he once worked with and gets tortured. Guts then comes back and helps everyone retrieve him, and they got him back, but Griffith couldn't do anything on his own anymore. This made a necklace of his called the Behelit activate, and it sent them to some place. And these demons known as the God Hand tell Griffith that if he wants to achieve power and his dream, he can sacrifice everyone that he loves. He goes through with it, Guts included, and just like that, everyone was killed, besides Guts and Casca. All of those bonds Guts has had with everyone, gone in an instant. Yeah, this is just a very simplified version of it. My words don't do this story justice, and uploads will be consistent again, and have a good day or night wherever you're from. See ya.
Everybody on FaceTime talking about you like Steve Harvey. Hey. Look, y'all really think he look like Steve Harvey? Huh?